You're a skinny little runt baby that can't think for himself.
Am I? Cool.
And you come here, you constantly leech off me, then you go complain to other people, oh, Matt's taking advantage of me.
Really? I don't remember complaining to anyone about you, Matt.
Dude, you will go to hell!
Well, lucky me, I look forward to it, Matthew. Oh, damn, hell's not real though, is it?
I am not joking!
No, I know, I can tell.
Look at me!
I'm looking.
You think I am yelling too hard?
Seems a little bit excessive to me.
You have lost your mind!
Well, maybe I have, but it's you at fault because you keep uploading videos that I want to respond to.
You're gonna talk to me.
But I don't want to.
You're gonna talk to me right now.
I'm trying to, but you keep shouting over me.
You're crazy! You are insane! You have lost your mind, Jeremy!
Jeremy? Who the f*** Jeremy?
And I love you too much just to sit here and say, oh, well, you're fine.
Thank you, Matt. I love you too. Well, no, that's not technically true. I don't actually love you, but I do love making videos about you. Please subscribe.
Carbon-14 dating is a way of determining the age of certain archaeological artifacts of a biological origin up to about 50,000 years old. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask the question, why is it then that we find carbon-14 inside of dinosaur bones that are supposedly 65 million years old? I would like an answer to that.
We don't. Fossils are mostly found embedded in sedimentary rocks. So to determine the age of the sedimentary rock layers, researchers first have to find neighboring layers of Earth that include igneous rock, such as volcanic ash. Now these layers are like bookends. They give a beginning and an end to the period of time when the sedimentary rock layer was formed. And by using radiometric dating to determine the age of the igneous brackets, researchers can accurately determine the age of the sedimentary layers in between them.
People say dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. Really? There's C14 inside the bones. According to this article, which is a scientific paper, it says that carbon-14 only lasts 50,000 years in any organism that it dies in.
Carbon-14 has a half-life of 5,750 years, which is why it isn't used to date fossils, Matt.
And soft tissue. We find soft tissue in all of these dinosaur bones. Blood cells with hemoglobin in the blood. But oh, it lasted millions of years.
You say that as if paleontologists always claim there's soft tissue found in dinosaur fossils. They don't. That's called cherry picking, Matt. I thought Christians were meant to be honest people.
Okay, does anybody in here remotely think that that's even possible for a soft tissue to last 65 million years? And here's how they answer that. Well, you see, it's about it was contaminated. What happens if you contaminate blood? It deteriorates worse. It was contaminated. Do you know what a stupid argument that is? Oh, but it was fossil. The blood was fossilized. Wait a minute. You say a fossil takes 10,000 years to form. Is blood going to sit there in the ground for 10,000 years, waiting to be fossilized? No.
Iron is an element present in abundance in the body, particularly in the blood, where it's part of a protein that carries oxygen from the lungs to tissue. Iron is also highly reactive with other molecules, so the body keeps it locked up tight, bound to molecules that prevent it from wreaking havoc on the tissues in the body. Now, after death, iron is let free from its cage, kind of. It forms minuscule iron nanoparticles and also generates free radicals, which are highly reactive molecules thought to be involved in aging. The free radicals cause the proteins and cell membranes to tie into knots. They basically act like formaldehyde. And formaldehyde, of course, preserves tissue. It works by linking up or cross-linking the amino acids that make up proteins, which makes those proteins more resistant to decay.
They say, well, it's the method of the fossilization of the bone. The iron in the blood, then. Okay, great. Do you see organisms getting encapsulated by iron when they die in nature? They say, well, if we put iron or blood in iron, it preserves the cells. That must have been how it lasted. This was found nowhere near iron deposits.
Iron deposits haven't got anything to do with it, you clown. It's the iron found in all living things. I would have thought that a great creation scientist like you would have been aware of the iron deficiency called anemia, or do you think we only suffer from that if we don't live near enough iron deposits in the ground? Idiot.
This was not found near iron. And yes, even if you put dinosaur soft tissue in an airtight jar, and then put that airtight jar in another airtight jar and another airtight jar, it's going to deteriorate. I don't care if it's airtight, it's going to deteriorate.
So like Kent Hovind's YouTube channel then? Or your credibility, Matt? Oh wait, for you to have something deteriorate, you first have to have that thing, don't you? Silly me.
Anybody that says that dinosaur soft tissue could last 65 million years
knows a lot more about paleontology than you do.
They are out of their mind. They are gullible people, period. And if you vouch for that, you are a gullible person. If you really believe that.
And believing that Earth poofed into existence with a snap of God's fingers isn't gullible. Now us normal people, what? I'm normal, look at me. Well, we have to go looking for this silly little thing called evidence before we blindly believe anything. And I know that when you and Hovind make a response to this video, you'll say, where is my evidence for evolution? If you do make a response, that is. Or is it just young women like Emma Thorne you go after now? But anyway, I don't need to provide evidence for evolution. Why go to the effort of trying to prove something to a religious cult member who only believes what's said to them in the cult compound by Hovind, the leader of your cult? Sorry, I meant to say dinosaur ad hominem land. I mean dinosaur adventure land. What's it like being a PA to an ex-convict, Matt? Soon to be a convict again, from what I heard anyway. Your family must be so proud.
They say, well, that's not enough evidence. I need cross-examined evidence. You need to be able to cross-examine. What about the dinosaur tracks that are 65 million years old in the old time strata? Oh, really? Is it just a coincidence that we find man tracks with dinosaur tracks in these layers that you say are 65 million years old?
Are you talking about the tracks found in the Paluxy River? Apologies if I said that wrong. I'm not American. Which became famous in the early 1930s when locals found dinosaur and human footprints in the same rock layers in the Glen Rose Formation, and which were widely publicized as evidence against the geological timescale and in favor of young Earth creationism, which would explain why you bring them up, but conveniently leave out the part about them being found to be hoaxes. Are those the footprints you're talking about, Matt, or different ones?
I was in a debate with Dr. Kenny Rhodes from Reasons to Believe, and I brought this up to him, right? And he looked at me, he goes, well, even though it looks like a man footprint, and anatomically it may be the same, how do you know there wasn't a creature that looked just like a man? Talk about believing things without evidence.
I don't think you're really in a position to laugh at people that believe in things without evidence, Matt. We're still waiting for evidence of God, or that he magicked a perfectly imperfect world into existence. You don't seem to have any problem believing in that, Matt, so, you know, people that live in glass houses and all that.
And don't get angry at me over that. Don't get angry at me for telling you the facts, for telling you the truth that you should have heard when you went to school and learned that the universe popped into existence by nothing with no God.
Now, without stating the obvious, that one sentence is a perfect summary of why people like Matt Powell and Hovind choose to deny the nose on their face. Or in this case, that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Because it doesn't require a God.
Folks, the public school system is completely absurd what they're teaching. Monkeys surfing, dinosaurs farting to death, squids and octopi coming from outer space.
Well, I don't know where you went to school, Matt, but damn, they really messed you up, pal. Unless I was absent on the day they taught us about surfing monkeys and space squids.
Look, their rescue devices are weak, and you always need to point that out. If you're in a debate with them, point it out. It's a very weak argument. Be respectful, but just point out it's a weak argument.
Oh yeah, be respectful, like you were to that poor guy you were screaming at the beginning of this video. But I guess it's all fine. I'm sure it was all done with Christian love.
And in some cases, we find man footprints on top of the dinosaur footprint. I'm sorry, that means they existed at the same time. You cannot deny that. That's another cross piece of evidence there. It's cross-examined.
Or does it mean that man stood in a dinosaur footprint that was already there? I don't know, but I'm not a paleontologist, nor am I pretending to be one, unlike you, Matt. You science genius, you.
They say, well, you know, grass didn't evolve till 55 million years ago. Dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago, so dinosaurs never saw grass. So your Bible's wrong when the Bible says that the behemoth eateth grass as an ox. No, the Bible is right.
About what exactly though, Matt? That God destroys a good family for no reason? Or that God destroys the fetuses of those who do not worship him? Or that God approves the massacre of peaceful people so one of his tribes could have a place to live? Or that a mixed race couple is murdered by a godly priest to keep God's people pure? Sounds like a bit of a dick to me, but what do I know? What is it Sir Six says? I am not the smart, but I was smart enough to find out that these are all from Bible verses, and the grasses that were being referred to as the grasses dinosaurs would have eaten would have existed when they roamed the earth, and would have been primitive grasses that are probably not around today, you know, because of evolution.
Precambrian rock layers are supposedly the oldest layers that there are. It's where the jellyfish that we all descended from originated. The sponge, our ancestor, the great-great-great-grandfather SpongeBob. That's really what they believe. We're arguing against people that believe in literal Toon Network. That is your ancestor. Nickelodeon. SpongeBob. That's literally what we're arguing against. People say, how do you always win the debates?
You can win a game of solitaire, let alone a debate, just because the people in your cult pat you on the back and say, oh, well done, Matt. It doesn't mean you actually did well. But I suppose at least you get a treat from Kent, you know, like a good boy.
I'm arguing against people that, for lack of a better word, idiots.
Do you ever listen back to what you say? Can you give us one example of anyone in the history of ever saying that we evolved from a cartoon sponge? This is how you know when someone has nothing useful to say. They resort to childish remarks. But I don't blame you, Matt. It's all Kent Hovind's fault. I mean, your nose is so far up his ass, I can't tell where you end and he begins.
I don't mean to say that to be rude, but sometimes you have to argue with literal idiots.
Or make videos about them.
Precambrian is before dinosaurs existed. Well, we find bird tracks before dinosaurs.
We don't though, do we? Precambrian was before any of the animals we know today or know from the fossil record would have existed. That's the period you get your sponges from, isn't it, Matt? Which is why you like to bring it up. It's just another part of evolution that you can misrepresent. The Earth had barely started to form its atmosphere, and the sea hadn't even oxygenated the planet yet. But you know this, don't you? And that's why you think it's your smoking gun. Plus, if you add to that you're an idiot being mentored by an even bigger idiot.
They're literally saying that Native Americans drew these tracks. If you believe that, you are gullible, period. You're gullible. Stop saying Christians are gullible for believing the Bible, a book written by goat herders. What's wrong with a bunch of goat herders?
Nothing at all. No one is saying there was anything wrong with being a goat herder. But what's wrong with not believing in God? It doesn't make you a lesser person. It just makes you a person that doesn't need the approval of a deity to go about their daily life. Why live in fear?
So stop spewing your own confusion with yourself onto all of Christianity. We don't want it. It's the fallacy of false equivalence.
So comparing apples to oranges then. Just say comparing apples to oranges. You do realize that using big words doesn't make you smart, don't you? This is one of the many reasons why you are such an unlikable person. But for me, the biggest thing that makes you such an unlikable, hateful little turd is the comment you left on the Utah Outcasts channel. Utah Outcasts, oh believe me, we are happy that you do. You and your couple of reprobate buddies aren't of any interest to us. Tell them to put signs up too. Or wait, Kyle may not have to though. All one of my friends would have to do is knock on his door and see him with his makeup on. Even just a little lipstick on that is a dead giveaway that he's a disgusting pervert. Movements like mine are just gonna continue growing, no matter how many vids you and your couple of friends decide to put out against me. By the way, if you didn't notice, I'm taking the gloves off. You bunch of can go to hell. Like I said earlier in the video, your family must be so proud of you.
Are chickens related to the T-Rex? This is in a kid's book. Question, are chickens related to the T-Rex? Answer, yes. Science has revealed compelling evidence that the T-Rex actually evolved into a chicken. Folks, you know what we continuously find in the fossil record?
Dated about fossils.
Dinosaurs with birds in their stomachs. But dinosaurs, wait a minute, they didn't exist with birds. They turned into birds. No, you find dinosaurs with birds in their stomachs.
So you and other young Earth creationists think that dinosaurs didn't eat other dinosaurs? Because regardless of what you think, Matt, certain dinosaurs did evolve into birds. And I know that's hard for you to hear, well, for you to acknowledge that, you would be publicly saying that you don't actually believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, wouldn't you? So I get it. A lie to cover up another lie and another lie and another lie, and you get the idea. So it's fine. Not very Christian, but it's fine, Matt. Don't worry about it.
You bring this up to them, and they don't have a clue of what you're talking about. That's not true. There's no fossil evidence and you show them the actual photo, and they don't believe it. They say, well, how can I believe in a God that I can't see? Why don't you start believing what you can see first?
Maybe you should try practicing what you preach.
It's called delusional if you're not going to believe what you can see.
Exactly, Matt. That's what I'm trying to say. There is so much evidence to support evolution that is available to anyone who cares to research it, and yet you and others like you choose to dismiss it, all in favor of believing in something that there has never been evidence for. So unless you're happy to be a hypocrite, then you best quit while you're ahead, didn't you? Ah, crap, too late.
This is proof that the devil himself exists.
This should be good.
The fact that you could believe in evolution and be so deceived and so tricked is proof that Satan deceives, that you have been deceived by the God of this world, which has blinded the minds of them which believe not, the Bible says. They say, you're so superstitious, you believe in the devil? You better believe I do, because he deceived you into believing pond scum to people evolution, bacteria to biologists, goo to you, the zoo to you, fish to fishermen. That's what they think. So don't come at me with, oh, it's superstitious to believe in that old book. You know, I'm glad that it is an old book and that it's been around for a long time. You're admitting by saying it's an old book that it is historic, and that it is reliable.
Are we? I don't think we are. Something being old doesn't make it reliable. Just look at Kent. So there we go. First video of 2022 in the bag. Now this one's gonna cause a stir. There'll be people who agree with me, and there'll be people who are wrong. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Love you. Bye. Yes. Very nice.
All right. Watch this next. But before you do, make sure you subscribe by order of the Creaky Blinder.